Welcome to the Jam Yearbook. I'm Jim.
And I'm Matt.
We're here to take you on a journey through the years as we explore the music in our lifetime and the impact it's had on us and the world we live in.
Welcome to version 2000, or Matt's rant extravaganza. Oops, I did it again. I thought I'd made strides in being more open and accepting. Then along came Y2K. I'll just say Max Martin and Disney and move along. I don't need to go down that road again.
You're not entirely wrong, though. I think a while back we decided to change the tone a bit and lose the old men yelling at clouds attitude when we fell into a year that wasn't exactly our thing. I think instead I'm going to have to approach 2000 with the spirit of someone's trash is somebody's treasure.
Yeah, that sentiment's exactly right. I think that's the way we have to approach years like this. I always say I like to challenge myself. This sounds like a good year to do it with, not in what I'm listening to, but how to curb my crankiness about it.
Well, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah.
But before we get started, there was one artist who passed away in 2000 that I can't ignore. And even though he wasn't a household name, he was a significant influence on both you and I. That man is Benjamin Orr, bassist and co-vocalist for the Cars. I think when someone thinks of the Cars, the first image in their mind is Rick Ocasek. Not only was he a real unique looking guy, but by the time MTV was dominating how new music was being delivered, he was largely dominating the lead vocals for the band. Benjamin Orr was not just a great bass player. He also sang lead vocals on some of their classic and most influential songs.
Yeah, Ocasek got the lion's share of the spotlight, but Benjamin Orr was kind of like the flip side of him. You know, where Ocasek, he was unique in appearance.
Mm-hmm.
But Orr was kind of like the blonde-haired pretty boy. I always thought he could have been like Roger Taylor's younger brother.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't just sing the occasional novelty song either. He sang on some of their biggest hits. Let's Go, Just What I Needed, and Drive.
I love Drive.
Yeah. Great song.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather talk about the Cars till we get 4 or 5 songs.
Let's do that.
But no, that's not how the show goes. I'm glad we're getting 2000 out of the way. I'd rather finish the yearbook on strong years for us personally. Surprisingly, it's not just pop that was bad, though. Revisiting the music I did like back in the day, I found most of it it didn't hold up.
And we've really made this effort to sprinkle a little more optimism into the show when we've reached years like this. But here's the thing. 2000 was completely dominated by the Disney kids and nu metal. And I do think that we have made our peace with the Disney kids. You definitely had a rant about them. I think it was episode 2016. Go back and listen, people, somewhere back in that time. And we don't need another epic rant.
You'll find it.
Yeah, you'll find it. We don't need another epic rant from you. NSYNC, they released No Strings Attached in 2000, and it ended up being the moment people really took notice of Justin Timberlake.
Oh, geez. And it was also the moment where we learned a new pronunciation for the word me.
Gotta buy my.
That was pretty damn annoying.
It still is.
You know, it still is. I don't even think you can say it ironically and not like make me want to choke you.
It's my least favorite meme that shows up on Facebook every year now.
May.
Oh, as soon as April 30th rolls around,
oh yeah,
you're gonna have 10 posts on Facebook of guess what tomorrow is.
Yeah, it's almost like May the 4th be with you too.
Yeah, it is.
You know, that's kind of getting played up for me a little bit too. We maybe more me had enough of this pop in versions 1997 and 1999. We stayed out of it a little bit in 98 because we found a little bit more music that we liked. So if you're a fan of all the Britneys and the NSYNCs of the world, that's about as far down that road as we will be driving.
Good.
Don't make us come back there.
No, because you know what, Matt? I'm going to deliver the rant this week. It's my turn. And I think I'm stepping in and doing this to save everyone another epic Matt rant. But
hold on, let me get my popcorn.
Yeah, get ready for this. Going back to what I said just at the start of the show, I'm going to dig into nu metal a bit and return to my one person's trash is another's treasure. Forgive me in advance if this is your music. I think our generation, yours and mine's, Matt, fell off the cliff right here in 2000. rock music had shown signs of change before this. We had Korn and Limp Bizkit. They were already selling millions of albums, but suddenly everything began to change. You had bands like Papa Roach, Disturbed, Stain, and Linkin Park. They all burst onto the scene and completely changed the landscape. This genre, nu metal, was applied to this brand of music. I don't approve of it, but I'll get back to that in a minute. I think I was a little more open to it than yourself. I went back to
Yeah.
college around this time and I worked in a restaurant. So I spent a lot of time around 18 to 20-year-olds. And we've already discussed how constant exposure can wear a person down to at least being complacent to the music that's around them.
That's such a cheap win too.
It is, it is. But I did already like some Limp Bizkit and Korn before this year. And I owned Linkin Park when it came out. I listened to it again recently. And even though some of the bigger songs are really worn out, especially by alternative radio, the Buzz, we joke about
Oh,
how
hell yeah.
they're going to have their Linkin Park at 11 o'clock every single morning. But I still like the song Paper Cut. So if you're a Linkin Park fan out there, you've got a little bit of a victory from me. I remember being 18 to 20 years old and hanging out with some cool people in their 30s who introduced me to Beatles, Dire Straits, Rolling Stones, a lot of solid music from the 60s and 70s. The funny thing is, I realized this week that their reaction to me trying to play the Smashing Pumpkins and Soundgarden to them is the same old man reaction I have to nu metal now. I was told to turn that shit off. Okay, maybe like I said, I was a little more tolerable. But the point I'm making is this music belonged to the next generation. It wasn't ours anymore, mine and yours. And I think it won't ever sound as good to us as the music we were digging through in our teens and early 20s. Every generation, it seems, got a little more aggressive. And this was the corner turned. I'd gotten too soft and I didn't want to be this angry anymore. But one more thing, I'm not done. This is my epic rant today. So once again, I apologize.
Deep breath, deep breath.
They never should have been allowed to call it nu metal. New, how
Preach,
cute.
preach.
Yeah. How cute, with two little dots over the U, like Germany or Sweden gave them permission. This was pop metal. It was designed with hooks to sell records, not thrash, no doom, no black metal. It was pop music. Nu metal, that's released every week. Go look in the new music section. You'll find a nu metal album there. There you go. What do we get to call the next genre? What do we get to call the next genre? Nu metal? Like, how dumb is this going to get? For our listeners out there, that's NU. No, it's pop metal, and that's what I'm going to call it from here on out. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people probably don't realize, especially the ones who are listening to nu metal, that there was great metal still coming out in 2000. And I was really happy to find it this week. You had Electric Wizard. They had a brilliant album. Iron Maiden had an album. And Rob Halford's solo album, if you needed some nostalgia, his album Resurrection was really good. If you needed something to really rip your head off, Nile has 2 albums in 2000. It's a little harder than my taste, but musically solid. Do you know why no one has heard of these other than a handful of our listeners? Because they weren't writing pop hooks. They were writing metal. That's the end of my rant.
Bravo. Bravo. What's your encore? What are we going to rip on next? You haven't taken the pulpit in a while there, dude. That was a good one. And thank you. I wasn't sure how to approach nu metal, so you kind of took that off my plate. And I have no problem ripping into pop, obviously. I don't really worry too much how it's going to be taken. I should have taken the same approach with this. Nu metal, correct me if I'm off point, but nu metal, it's kind of like that generation's hair metal or grunge, like a movement that was trying to get off the ground.
Yep.
And maybe it starts off as something pure at its core, but then it feels like an industry push because it came out of the gates with a lot of polish to it. And at first, I think I was kind of okay. Nu metal didn't blow me away, and hey boy, it really wore out its welcome quickly. I know this is generalization. I don't think all of the bands are the same. I came to think of it as tacky. It has that in common with hair metal. Just in case people don't think I don't see the correlation there. I'm a Kiss fan. I know Tacky. I understand it. Okay. And some of it was just douchebaggery, really. And
Mhm.
usually we like to say pretentious, but this is different. Crazy Town, that's douchey.
Big time.
Boy, now I feel like an old man spitting at clouds. But yeah.
You're spot on with what I'm saying, though. And I'm not trying to call music that other people enjoy trash. So I apologize if you think that that analogy applies to what you love. But if you're going to give me any of these albums, they're just going to sit on a shelf and collect dust.
And I think the only new metal I ever bought was that one Limp Bizkit album with um was it $3 Bill Y'all, the one with
Hmm.
Faith.
Hmm.
I think that's the one. And I was still young enough to kind of feel a little tug to join into what was popular. And I'll
Yeah.
admit, Nookie's a pretty cool song.
Yeah, it is.
It still is a pretty cool song. But then it just sat on the shelf and I wasn't listening to it. And I put it on one day and I got like 4 songs in. I'm just like, this does not feel right. I actually felt like I needed a mental shower. It just, yeah, and I never listened to it again. I've never been able to listen to a whole Linkin Park album either. You know what though? No one I was hanging around with was listening to it either. That's where I was putting myself this week. Kind of like what you were saying. I was aging out.
Hmm.
I didn't recognize it at the time, but and so I was probably a little harsher on it back then. All of it was just somebody else's treasure to cherish growing up and be nostalgic about for when they have their own yearbook podcast. Just not for me.
Well, you know what, Matt? You know what did happen in 2000? Coldplay debuted.
Boo. No,
Yeah,
no, I take that back.
Yellow was a good song.
Yes, it was.
After looking back at new metal, maybe we've been a little hard on Coldplay.
Oh, I would take Coldplay hands down over that. Yeah, I shit on Coldplay a lot, but this was a great song back in the day, and I still like it. Yellow has held up. It's not the band's fault that got played to death.
Mhm.
That is not, I mean, well, it is if they make such a great song that people want to keep hearing it. But this was another CD I bought, and I never listened to the whole thing. It just didn't hold my attention. But Yellow it's still a really good song. I never thought it was bad, just uninteresting
I can
to
understand
me.
that. Yep.
And there was a lot of alt rock around in 2000 that at the time I really liked, but it too did not hold up. It kind of, to me, it gets really lumped in with the new metal. I think I heard them on the same radio stations, so they'll
Mhm.
always have that mental link to me. I really like the Hives, and I refused to listen to Veni Vidi Vicious this week. I didn't want to tarnish that memory either because I had a fear that it wouldn't hold up, or I didn't want a fresh association with music I really wasn't high on.
Yeah.
I had so many stop starts in listening to music this week. This era of alt rock, it's again, it's linked to new metal in my head, and I have trouble separating them. Mainly because so much of it just is bad. Newfound Glory, AFI, all of this I realized, Good Charlotte, all of that stuff, Breaking Benjamin. I didn't really like it back then. It was kind of me tugging at, or, youth kind of still tugging at me while I was growing away from it.
Mhm.
I was a big fan of Everclear's Song from an American Movie. I did check that out this week. Um, One listen to AM radio kind of left me cringing a little bit, maybe because I watched the video and that was the wrong move. Um, but this was a new direction for them, and the Mr. Big stuff, Backbone, plus the sentiment had me hooked. I'm gonna give this one another listen down the road to see if I still, have that same bad feeling about it.
Uh-huh.
I think I should have left this one alone, just like the Hives. I dug the Brown Eyed Girl cover, and Wonderful. That's still a really good song. So I'm not completely writing that record off.
Yeah, Wonderful is a really good tune. I always like the message to it. I almost had it in my 5 this week.
Okay, Jim, we're gonna take this podcast into a different direction.
Okay, we need to do that now.
And I have a question for you. Did rap and hip hop save us this week?
Oh, it definitely was the bright light of the week for me. And thank you so much for the albums that you recommended in the chat that we had going back and forth.
Oh yeah, that Deltron 3030 album was great. So was Del the Funky Homo Sapien. And I almost didn't dig into Common because I wasn't sure. I like some of his later stuff. I had never listened to this album before, but I really liked it.
Yeah, I really liked Del the Funky Homo Sapien. If you liked the first Gorillaz album, Del's album is the perfect supplement. Gorillaz will debut in the following year, 2001, but you can really hear some of the sound influences coming right from here. I always thought they were more of Damon Albarn's band because of the success of Blur, but this album made me realize it was a bigger collaboration than I had originally thought.
Oh yeah, and it is probably because, I think you kind of intimated there that Blur was the big band at that time. And but Damon Albarn seemed to get the most acknowledgement out of it. And now when you go back and listen to these albums, it doesn't sit right with me. But definitely the Deltron 3030 album, that just go listen to that and you'll go, oh yeah, I can definitely see where they're getting a direction from Gorillaz.
100%. Yeah.
And Del's flow, it's kind of addicting to listen to. He's got a very interesting voice that makes me kind of pay attention. Because Deltron 3030, that is a side project of Del the Funky Homo Sapien with DJ Kid Koala and Dan the Automator. And those two other guys are also involved with Gorillaz. So definitely listen to the Del the Funky Homo Sapien and 3030, Deltron 3030, and you'll go, oh yeah, this is the direction that Gorillaz was. This is where they were getting that direction from. And those Del definitely deserves a spotlight for what goes on in Gorillaz and for what he does on his own. He's really cool. I really like Del.
Yeah. And it would be foolish to talk about rap if we're going to talk about the year 2000 and not bring up the Marshall Mathers album and Nelly's debut. Eminem continued a worldwide takeover at the time. It was definitely a good album. Stan still creeps me out a little bit. The obsessed fan. There's just something about that when you hear that song, you're like, oh, this is nice. Oh, Dido's doing the sample for it. This is pretty. And then you realize as you get towards the end, this is about an obsessed fan, and it's really kind of crazy.
This is kind of fucked up.
Yeah. And then you had Nelly, and he had his own sound and what he was doing. It belonged on the radio. It was made for radio, but it didn't sound like anything else. The Shimmy, Shimmy, Cocoa Puff was fun to sing along to. And Ride With Me had this great little acoustic sample. If he put those songs out today, they would still become hits.
And I liked how Eminem was poking the pop crowd.
Oh, big time.
I really enjoyed that. Yeah. It took me a while to warm up to his music. And I think what helped me do that was his approach to all the pop stars. Like, he was not impressed and couldn't care.
The Marshall Mathers album was complete self-awareness.
Yes.
Of the world he was living in.
Oh, definitely. I love that. I don't know if Common ever got the breakthrough like the others. I don't know if you are aware of like the Soulquarians, Questlove, Erykah Badu.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of like a hip hop collective. That Common, he was a part of that. I don't know if he ever really broke through like the rest of them did. His album, like Water for Chocolate, it's the type of hip hop that you and I probably gravitate to more than some of the other stuff. It's not overloaded with the 808s. It's kind of like neo soul, neo jazz. Okay. And he's always got something very interesting to say. And now I'm going to take us another 180 and go probably far away from rap and say that country music, believe it or not, I found a little salvation in country music this week.
Yeah.
Oh man, in version 2015, I realized how much I really liked Dwight Yoakam. He gave me some songs and sounds this week I wasn't tired of, and I really liked. He had 2 albums out in 2000. The acoustic album was okay, but Tomorrow's Sounds Today is really good. The energy of what he brings with a full band playing his songs, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it is.
That's right. I said it. Dwight Yoakam is pretty awesome. He's got a version of Cheap Trick's I Want You to Want Me, and it sounds like it was made to be a country song.
Yep.
It was so cool to hear Buck Owens on a couple of tracks on that album too.
Yeah, he's a legend.
And he is. And another legend, Merle Haggard. He had an album, If I Could Only Fly. Oh, it's exactly what I needed and wanted from him. It's on the mellow side, but some damn good songs. I can't remember the last time I heard a country song say the words honky tonk.
Yeah.
That's what this whole album sounds like. It's good old Merle Haggard.
Mm-hmm.
And this was, believe it or not, this was Merle's 50th album. I find that, to me, that I find that amazing that you
Yes.
pump out that much content. And not far behind him was Willie Nelson in the Milk Cow Blues.
Yeah, this was a fun album. It was a great collaboration album. Willie had some good special guests and definitely focused on great blues here. He had B.B. King, Johnny Lang, and Kenny Wayne Shepherd. And even though Kenny Wayne's not Stevie Ray, he's still good. And it was fun to hear Willie sing Texas Flood. I enjoyed that. I think the real surprise for me in this was Susan Tedeschi. She was just at the start of her career. I don't know if anybody really would have known much about her in 2000. And appearing on an album with a mammoth lineup, she shines right through. I mean, imagine being called on a duet with Willie to sing Crazy. And she does a damn good job at it. But we're not done hearing about her on this show.
Definitely not. Tedeschi Trucks Band is pretty awesome too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And listening to the country this week, it kind of got my memory jogged a little bit. The wheels were starting to turn. And I remembered in 2000, this is when I was digging into Johnny Cash.
Yep.
American 3 came out. It didn't match the second one. That'll probably still be my favorite of the American recordings, but I still appreciated what he brought to songs like I Won't Back Down and Mercy Seat. Mm-hmm. And by digging, I mean, I was going back into his first albums as well. This is as deep a dive as you're going to get into somebody. I had days where that's all I would listen to. I'd crank out 5 or 6 Johnny Cash albums. In the new metal, the alt rock, the pop, it just didn't match up with what my ears needed to hear. They could not compete with Johnny Cash. If it wasn't Johnny Cash or Cake or a couple more we'll mention later on, you just weren't competing.
Well, not to take us a complete 180, but I'm going to bring us to indie. And I think this belongs here. One pleasant surprise I discovered this week was Richard Ashcroft's first solo album after his departure from The Verve. I almost put this in your indie comments, but there's something in the layers of this album that had a country feel to it. I heard steel guitar in that lead title track. If you took away his British crooner accent and had someone sing these songs with an American country accent, it would work. It was probably too mellow for me in 2000, and that might have been why I wasn't really paying attention, but it fits right into what I want to listen to now.
Oh, I'm so glad you brought this album to my attention. This was a really good listen. I was really in the mood for this week because it was mellow. Mm-hmm. I think I was just in the right frame of mind to accept it. Yeah. I wish I had listened to it in 2000. It doesn't sound dated at all. He made an album that was its own thing. It's not generic at all. It's I won't say it's timeless. I think I got to give it a little bit more time before I say that. But some of these songs, they're like poppier versions of Father John Misty with the instrumentation as well. It's definitely not Father John Misty, but I was pleasantly surprised by that album.
Well, you know what time it is.
Well, yeah, we're getting to that time where we got to get to our 5, and everybody's probably wondering, what the hell are these guys going to have in their 5 this week? They didn't like very much. Well, that's why we saved the best for last. I may have a reason for not having much of an emotional attachment for the music in 2000. Don't get me wrong, my 5 songs, I really love them. But when I reflect on the actual year of 2000, I didn't have any big personal moments. I had been married for 3 years, house for 2 years, no kids. There wasn't like a big life moment that I could, pick out. Just no big moments, positive or negative, for music to carry me through. It was music for enjoyment's sake. And in the moment, I was kind of on autopilot. All right, Jim, 2000 was my fault. So I'll start us off.
All right, you get us going.
I'm going to start off with Eels and Mr. E's Beautiful Blues. Goddamn right. It's a beautiful day. Eels, they're always interesting. Yeah. And Mr. E's Beautiful Blues, it's got a great bass groove on it. The beginning, it kind of sounds like a little bit you're coming out of a dream. And then that's your alarm and you wake up to sunshine with that beautiful groove. But the lyrics paint a really different picture. you know, goddamn right, it's a beautiful day. It's kind of it's a sarcastic look at life, but I guess it's a beautiful day when you reflect on the fact that you're still alive.
Yeah, you know, I really like what you say about how it's coming out of a dream, because even when you put the song on, it doesn't actually make any noise for about 30 seconds. It's almost like a secret track on an album, but it's not.
It is a hidden track at the end of the album.
Is it? But it
Yeah,
wound up being a radio song.
I know.
That's really cool. You
It's
don't,
weird.
yeah.
It's almost like he came up with something that was catchy and the record label said, no, you have to release that.
Okay, well, I'm glad they made him
I
do
don't know.
that. If that
Yeah.
happened, yeah. This was in my 5 right after I started looking into 2000, and it was still
Oh.
edging in or out until I saw you'd chosen it. So I was like, okay, there it is. It's just a cool tune. And I think the irony of the sarcasm is to keep this kind of cool mentality regardless of the kind of day you're having. There's bad stuff happening to all kinds of people and ourselves, but it's the last verse of the song that I thought of. And it's, well, I don't know how you take in all the shit you see. No, don't believe in anyone. And most of all, don't believe me, believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That kind of does sum up the song.
it
Right there.
does. Good choice.
All right, Jim, what is your first song?
My first song is going to be Jurassic 5's Quality Control. This is 4 guys and a DJ, and they have put out some of the best underground rap in the past 25 years. Cut Chemist lays down some great old school beats, and the rest of the guys just create some of the best rhymes in hip hop. I love the syncopation of their voices in this song. They make hip hop sound like 1950s doo-wop with how tight they all flow together. Then as each one of them take their own verse, it tells its own story, like you're rhyming out in the streets with your friends. It's old school, but it's still fresh. And that's why I'm always going to love J5.
J5, I'm glad you put this on because I never listened to J5 at all. This was a really great album.
Mhm.
I loved it so much. Again, rap coming to the rescue this week.
Yeah. And
You know, just a year ago, I never would have thought I'd say that.
yeah. And Ozomotley was a band I brought to, I believe it's 1997, that
Yeah.
episode. And you really
Yep.
like that. And that's Cut Chemist and Charlie
Mhm.
Tuna from
Oh, yeah.
J5. So there you go, man. I take a look at their stuff. And if you ever get a
Oh.
chance to see them live, do that, because it's a lot of fun to watch these guys on
Oh,
stage.
that would be fun. I knew I loved it when I started bobbing my head to the beat.
Yeah, you can't help
It
it.
just, you can't. And I do like your doo-wop analogy. I
Mhm.
never thought of looking at hip hop like this, hip hop groups
Mhm.
like this. Yeah, I kind of had my eyes opened. You kind of taught me something, just that one little comment
Cool.
right there.
All right.
So yeah, thanks for that.
No problem. What's your number 2?
Okay, my number 2 is gonna be Deltron 3030, and the song is 3030.
Oh, hey.
Hey, we've kind of already hit on Deltron, but it's so good you got to hit it twice. You know, just a few weeks ago in version 2001, we had the debut of Gorillaz, as we've already talked about. And I dove in and I found this and then learned about Del the Funky Homo sapiens relationship to both. And way back in part 2 of version 1991, I added what I thought was just a one-off rap song, Mr. Dabalina
Yep.
from Del the Funky Homo sapien. Now here we are in version 2000, and Del's got a great solo album, Deltron 3030's debut. I chose Deltron because I like the song, but you can hear that Gorillaz relation.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And listening to this album, and I kind of researched it, it's a rap opera concept album. I'm a sucker for those. You know, tell me a story. And yeah, I know probably dystopian future stories are played out, you know, but it takes place in the year 3030. Hey, that's where you get the other. And he plays the character of Deltron Zero. It was just a really refreshing listen this week.
Yeah. It's no surprise that from this album, they'd go on to form what became known as the world's first virtual band with Gorillaz.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that we've kind of discovered Del together along the way.
Yeah.
You know, you brought him to 91, but we've definitely found something from him we didn't have before we did this show. And getting to hear more of his creative input has given me a fresh, new, and improved perspective of Gorillaz. He's really shaped those early sounds of theirs. and the familiarity of his cadence can't be missed when you listen to this song.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. All right, Jim, what is your second song?
My second song is going to be, well, I'm going to stay with rap. That's Outkast. B.O.B. Bombs Over Baghdad. This is not just my opinion, but there's a lot of print that says this as well. Possibly the greatest song of the 2000s. Outkast were just timeless and they were way ahead of their time. This is an anti-war song that came before the terrorist attacks in 9/11, but the anti-war message disappeared and it wound up actually becoming a powerful song to those who were serving in Iraq. When you break it down, though, it's the flow of Andre 3000 and Big Boy that's just so incredible. It's fast, it's no holds barred hip hop. And then these electronic layers come in and they take this song to a new place. And it just, in my opinion, it works to perfection.
Y'all 100%, man. Outkast, they'll always be classic. And this song, it shows just how original and revolutionary they are.
Yeah.
This beat is so intense. Nobody makes a song with this fast of a beat and raps to it.
Relentless.
Oh my God, it is
Yeah,
relentless.
it is.
It's intense.
Yeah.
Sensory overload when you hear that beat.
It is.
It's really cool.
Yeah. All right. What is your number 3?
Okay, I'll break us away from rap and go to country with Dwight Yoakam, A Promise You Can't Keep. Yes, we're finally adding a country song in our 5 that isn't involved in a special episode. I really didn't want to bring a slower song to my list, but man, sometimes when you hear a song, you just know, oh shit, yeah, that's going to be on my list.
Uh-huh.
You know, listen to this, and I can hear it on AM radio growing up. I loved hearing that steel guitar. I don't want to call Dwight Yoakam a throwback because he stayed the same throughout his career. It's the genre that's moved away from him.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And country twang, it's kind of country music's 808, right? It's that annoying thing we find within the genre.
Yep.
But with Dwight Yoakam, it doesn't feel or sound like a put on. It feels genuine.
Yeah.
I've learned that when I see an album from Dwight Yoakam, I'm going to listen to it because I feel like my ears are in good hands right there.
Nice.
I've stayed away from country music because I don't like this new country music. I think we're in the same boat there. It sounds like pop music to me, but I shouldn't write all of it off without listening to it. Yeah, I didn't see any point in bringing on music that I didn't connect with anymore. But it's a different sound that we don't have a lot of in our playlist. And I really love the song.
Yeah, I was in a perfect place. I was going into work, standing at a bus stop, and I put this song on to listen to while I was waiting. And for some reason, it was just perfect for my surroundings and where I was. It was great. There's no doubt that there's, a throwback sound here, whether you like that word or not, it exists.
Yeah.
But that's ironic because the album's called Tomorrow Sounds Today.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this song is like a time machine to that classic country sound. For people who say they don't make country like they used to, they
do.
Those people need to go check out Dwight Yoakam. There's steel guitar, there's rich harmonies going on. It's definitely the kind of country music that I'm going to embrace if I'm in a country mood. No doubt about it.
Yeah, when you say it's timeless, it's because this is in the year 2000 and you're getting this kind of music that you would have heard in the 60s or 70s or even today. He would probably put out an album that sounded just like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff.
So great. So what is your third song?
Well, my third song, I think I said at one point to you that I was going to bring, I don't know if I said it on the show or just in conversation, an Oasis song to the show. I know Oasis has its wins and losses when it comes to people who are listening. You either like Oasis or you don't like them at all. There's not really much in between, but I've never really been bothered by them. The song is called Where Did It All Go Wrong? It's not about a big romantic heartbreak or anything behind the song. I bought the CD after spending some time in Scotland, and this was the song that just kind of stayed with me. And then one night I was listening to it, and I realized that it related to one of the biggest heartbreaks that I'd gone through in my life. And that was my band in 1996, Cinderblock Baby, when we broke up. It was the collapse of a dream. I put all my chips in on what we wanted to accomplish, but like a romance, in one night, all those dreams and the hard work that we'd put in, the plans we had for the future, all that dreaming you did hanging around night after band practice, it was gone. And this was one of the first songs I heard that kind of punched me in the gut and made me realize how much I missed that. And it may have come a few years later, but that's how bromance can work sometimes.
Don't discount the power of a bromance, right? And
Yeah.
I had never heard this before. I had kind of tuned Oasis out just, and I never understood like the hate for Oasis. I think it's more like a boredom
Mhm.
because they don't kind of really push the envelope. They don't get out of their comfort zone.
Mhm.
But these lyrics, boy, they can take an old wound and make it fresh.
And I think one of the reasons why I picked this song as far as Oasis goes is I really do like when Noel's singing lead. I don't
I do
I don't
too.
really mind Liam. He's okay and he's got some good songs, but it always seemed like when Noel came and took a song, it was special and it changed the whole soundscape of what they were creating. And I had said to you in one of our chats how he has a way of creating melody with the lyric and the singing that's going on that just it really it might just be a 3-chord song, but he knows how to use his voice to really
He's got more dynamics when he sings.
he really does. It's just it's something about his vocal tone as well that I think really sounds it sounds lovely. It sounds great. So yeah.
I think Liam tries to get by more on character and personality.
Mhm.
It's not to say he doesn't have a good voice. He does, but I don't see him hitting the range that Noel does.
No.
Not that Noel's got an impressive range, but I think Noel just is more aware of how to use it.
I think the people out there that have a sour opinion of Oasis have spent more of their time listening probably to Liam songs than Noel. And that's not me knocking Liam completely because I do like some of the songs
Oh
he
yeah.
sings, but
Yeah.
I do think that Noel has something special about the tone of his voice and the way that he brings it to a song.
I think people get tired of hearing about the soap opera of Liam and Noel not getting
Yeah.
along,
Yeah.
and that can kind of grate on people.
Yep.
But getting back to the song, it's a great addition to the song to the playlist. Yeah, really good.
Good. I'm glad you like it. All right. What are you bringing? What's your fourth tune?
My fourth tune will be Ween, Even If You Don't.
Yeah, guy.
Wow. Yeah. One of my favorite albums of the year. Probably one of two I have the most attachment to for the year 2000. Kim and I, we used to watch our niece and nephew when they were really young.
Mhm.
They heard this album a ton. They always wanted to hear Stroker Ace. It was play the fast song, Uncle Matt, play the fast song. And they put on and they would just run around like kids. I was gonna say something stupid, but they would just run around like young kids. But I'm gonna bring Even If You Don't. Ween, they are so talented. They can just whip out catchy songs like this whenever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder why they don't do it more often. It's because they're creative.
Yeah.
From beginning to end, it's got a great flow, great melody. And when Dean Ween plays songs like this, his guitar tone, I love it so much. And the staccato guitar part he's got during the chorus, it really catches me. In my book, this is top 10 stuff. Absolutely love this song.
Yeah. This song, it's so well written. I really like the chord progression of the music itself, how it's original sounding, but it still has this really good hook. It's almost like someone dared Ween to write a cool indie rock song and they outperformed that dare. I almost chose this one as well, but I've got another one that wouldn't stop spinning around in my head that I'll bring to the show. And you're going to see they're two very different Ween songs, but that's what's cool about Ween. Ween can have two songs on our playlist. And if someone listening isn't a fan, they wouldn't know this is the same band playing them both.
Exactly, because from beginning to end on any Ween album, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Jim, what is your fourth song?
Well, why don't I just bring my Ween song to number 4? And that
I don't know. Why
is,
don't
yeah,
you?
that is the song Bananas and Blow. It's funny. I didn't intend to put this on my 5. I thought it was a bit of a novelty song, and it kind of is. Ween do write songs like this, and it was fun back in the day. I listened to the album last week, and my brain just kept singing the chorus to this song back over to me after I was done listening to it.
Yep.
So,
and that steel drum's going off in your head,
it's great.
right?
Yeah. I realized I needed to share it. It's one of those absolutely ridiculous Ween songs that stays stuck in your head in the best of ways.
Oh yeah. I always felt weird when the song came on. My niece and nephew were around.
Bananas and
'Cause-
blow.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
Oh,
bananas and blow.
They were way too young to get it. Thank God. It might be irresponsible, but I would have laughed my ass off if they ever started singing it. That would have been awesome.
I'm glad we have these songs back to back. That's great.
Oh yeah.
All right. What's your final
That's the only way
song
to do it.
for 2000?
All right, my final is Reverend Horton Heat and Sleeper Coach Driver. This is from my other favorite album of the year. The sentiment ties in with the Ween. Even though I'd been listening to both of these bands for a few years at this point, these were the two I dove into the most. I think because of that realization that what was popular didn't hold sway with me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to hear 15 bands that all sounded the same anymore. The Reverend, it's great psychobilly. I know they may not be your thing or everybody's thing, but it's punky rockabilly. It kicks ass. I could hear Jerry Lee Lewis banging the piano on this song.
Yep.
I swear, I wish he was the one doing it. Horton Heat's songs are some of the few I catch onto the lyrics right away because there's great stories, there's characters, and there's always something with a little bit of a biting humor in it.
Mm-hmm.
I always feel these guys, they're having the time of their lives when they're playing this music. They're not trying to push an attitude or trying to too hard to be cool, except for cool. Cool is an attitude, and but they push that,
Yes.
but they don't have to push it
No.
just because they are cool. This is the anti-new metal.
Yeah, it is. I like that. This is another band that I've enjoyed hearing more and more as we've been doing the show and exploring the years. And it seems that both you and I have kind of our go-to bands, and the Reverend's definitely one of yours. And I'm fine. I'm absolutely fine with that. Other than a handful of songs, I never really got into them. And it's been a lot of fun discovering them on this journey we've been on. They help us all remember the roots of rock and roll and how much fun it can be in its earliest form. 100%.
And I will say, I'm going to give an honorable mention. This was my first original one with Sue Jack Daniels.
Oh, yeah. Go listen to that, people.
Talk about biting humor in a song. It's really funny, but it's got great music.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. All right, my last song.
Yes.
All right. I am going to keep us in the juvenile section of the show. And it is Bloodhound Gang's The Bad Touch.
Wait, no Chasey Lane?
Oh.
Yeah, it's probably better we don't go down that road.
I wanted to bring Chasey Lane, but I don't really think I want to admit and talk about that on the show. I feel a little juvenile adding this song at this age that I'm at, but that's the spirit of Bloodhound Gang, and that's what they tap into. Most of the album carried junior high themes, and it's almost like witnessing the Beavis and Butthead generation blossom. Proof that music can be really good and funny at the same time.
Oh yeah. And apparently I will still giggle like a teenager to their songs. I don't think I'll ever grow up.
No, it's
sorry,
fun.
Kim.
It's fun. Yeah.
It just ain't happening.
All right. So there we go. That is our 5.
There we go. Yes, we are all done with the year 2000.
Well, let's get the audience poll in. Let's go through their songs and then we'll wrap it up.
All right. So going into the audience poll, here's what you all selected. The first song is Weedus and Teenage Dirtbag.
Yeah, good choice.
Thank you for that.
Yep. Next after that is a song that, well, we're going to have to see how long it lasts on the playlist, but it's Coldplay's Yellow. It's a good song. We agreed on that.
Yeah, we did. I may regret one day saying I like that song.
That's
but
okay. It's a good
right
song.
this week I did like that song. And the third song is Eminem and the Real Slim Shady.
Yeah, that's a great song. And apologies if anybody wants to call me out. Earlier in the show, I said My Name was from 2000, but it wasn't. That was actually from 1999. Foul on Jim. It was the Real Slim Shady. Good song.
Boo. All right.
Okay, after that, the next song that we have is Leanne Rimes' Can't Fight the Moonlight. Matt does not know this song.
I don't.
Coyote Ugly. That's where it came from. Have you ever seen the movie
never
Coyote
watched the
Ugly?
movie.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right, what's the last
All right,
song?
the last song we're going to add is Limp Bizkit and Rollin'.
Of course, that song would make it. Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
There we go.
Pay no heed to our recent comments about Limp Bizkit.
No, it definitely represents that era, that year.
Exactly.
So, you know,
it does. You can't deny how big Limp Bizkit was.
No.
They were popular.
Yes. All right. Well, I do believe it's my turn to wrap it up. But before we wrap it up, why don't you tell me where we're going to go next?
Oh, I can't wait to where we're going next, Jim.
Where are we going?
So next week we're going to a very special year, and the year is 1982.
Yeah.
It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait for this 3-hour extravaganza.
Yeah, this is going to be good. This is going to be really good.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, get ready to sit back, people, because I'm sure Matt has a list of about 50 songs that he's going to want to talk about.
Well, that's why we opened up the Facebook poll to include 10 songs instead of 5.
Yes, we decided to let the audience talk about them so we don't have to listen to Matt for 3 hours.
Exactly. It's either, each of us having 10 and then them having 5, and that's 25. We'll get less songs this way.
We will. It's a better way to do it.
Yes. So please help me make up my mind.
All right, I'm going to wrap us up.
Sounds good.
It's been a lot of fun talking to everybody this week. We go through years like this where we're not going to really be as into the music possibly as we are other years, but we hope we still crafted a good show for you. We definitely know that sometimes we shit on some music that you might like. So even if you disagree with us, we hope that you come back and listen the following week. We'll always try to bring something interesting to you week after week.
Yeah, and regardless, I still have fun talking to you, Jim. So yeah, we have that.
Yes, I'm glad for that. Week after week, it's been a great ride on this journey. So everybody, once again, I'm Jim.
I'm Matt.
And we will see you next time. Peace, love, and podcast.